Welcome to the Colleagues for Life podcast. I'm your host, Megan Hunter, and this is Side Chat. Today on the pod, we're going to explore what makes a good colleague. I have had the distinct honor of asking my guests on the Origin Story series what makes them a good colleague and also what they believe makes a good colleague for life. Let's start with two of the themes that came up. The first theme really kicked off with the prepisode, as we called it, Kolbi and I. Kolbi spoke about the importance of authenticity. And Kenya and I also unpacked this a little bit in our conversation as well. And I think authenticity has a cyclical nature to it in terms of its time in the sun as being exactly what we need to be as good colleagues and leaders. It also has a shadow side where people feel it's used or can be used to excuse poor behavior. Oh, that's just how I am. Oh, I'm just being authentic. Whereas authenticity in the way that I believe it was being spoken about by Kolbi and in the way Kenya and I were talking about it is more about connecting to who we really are and want to be and how we want to show up in the world. And my guess, my feeling is that most people want to show up in a way that is not harmful to others. I have a hard time believing that people want to be mean or rude or hurt the feelings of others. And sometimes that excuse of, oh, that's just how I am, or I'm just being authentic when something rude is being said, is more of a defense mechanism because perhaps that person doesn't know how to repair, or they're trying to deflect or defend because they didn't mean to hurt someone. And it's an automatic response that happens when we haven't been trained or brought into culture situations where we know how to apologize, where we know how to own up for something that we said. So when I talk about authenticity, I'm not talking about the kind that gets thrown around as a protective mechanism. I'm talking about being able to show up in spaces and be yourself. And that there's a common thread of who you are, no matter where you are. That you get to be you in certain spaces. Colleagues who allow you to shine and be yourself are the best kind of colleagues because you can just feel they're being themselves too. And then you breed more of that. And then other people feel like they can be themselves. And we create spaces where you get to be together and let your guard down in a way that, especially for those who mask, if you have a mental illness or if things aren't going well in your life, having a space where you just get to show up and it's not more work to be who you are and more work to do the work that you want to do. That's where authenticity shines. That's where the magic really lives when it comes to authenticity. A good colleague for life creates space for true authenticity, not the kind that shies away poor behavior or tries to skirt it away or is being used as a defense mechanism. The other theme that came up was really rooting for other people in a deep and meaningful way. Kate spoke about this, so did Montana, and Francine did as well. Francine also spoke about the authenticity aspect of being around people who are inspiring and do cool things, so it makes you want to do cool things too. That's another element of authenticity that shines. But they spoke about just how to be there for other people when they do something cool and something that they care about. And that it's not a competition, that there is space for all of us to do our own thing because we do even the same things in different ways. And just showing up and rooting for other people in a deep, deep, meaningful way is a gift. And I've been really lucky in my career and in my friendships and in my family and life where I've had people who root for me in ways that have allowed me to do things that, gosh, I didn't ever believe I could. Showing up for others in the spaces that they are excited about and in the ways that they need is colleague like top tier, in my opinion. So that's when someone writes a book, showing up at their party, meeting the people that they care about. When someone is creating an art piece or doing a course, asking them about it, seeing what it is, even if it's something you're planning to do yourself, getting really on board with what they're doing and finding ways to be the kind of support that they need. And that requires getting curious, because what you need might look totally different than the person that you're trying to support. I think asking really good questions is a good place to start when it comes to supporting other people and finding those places of connection. I think one of the really fun connection points with Kate and I on our episode, if you want to go back to that one, it was the first episode. We spoke about how both of us have 500 copies of children's books sitting in our garages or basements, obviously protected. Yes, she wrote hers. I illustrated one for another colleague. It could have been one of those competitive moments, but it was one of those moments for us where we're like, oh my gosh, you too? We should do some sort of a pop-up book sale signing or something. Like we looked at how do we support each other in this thing that's really impactful and exciting for us. And I loved that. I love watching people light up when they do their craft. I did have that experience when Montana was taking my picture. I got to feel the essence of who she was and how she loved to do her craft. And that was deeply impactful to me. So we impact others through the things that we care about. We also lift others up by caring about what they're doing and remembering that there really is space for all of us to do similar things, because we are so different and we do things in our own unique way. So even if the outcome is a book or an art piece or a course or facilitation or keynote or whatever it might be, we end up lifting each other up by not being competitive, but by being collaborative and communal. And I do believe that was one of the pieces that I deeply appreciate about Kenya, is her collective responsibility that she holds so deeply. She has taught me the term of ubuntu. I am because we are. And it's because it's not about competing. It's about what can we do together that is more. And even if we were doing individual endeavors, she remembers when I'm speaking. She remembers when I have a big meeting. She calls me, and I try to do the same for her as well. This is how we support each other and grow. It leads me into what my list of top collegial skills are. Are you curious? I would say that my belief in what makes a good colleague has been deepened through the conversations I've had on the Origin Story series. And I'm going to start with honesty. When Kolbi and I did our chat, you realize that I reported to her. She was my director for over a year, and we did some of the coolest work together, some very impactful work. And what I loved about working with Kolbi, and that I still work with her, is that she is so honest, and I trust her read. If she tells me it's crap, I'm like, thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you. And she can do it in a way that is funny and light, and it's not necessarily about me, it's about the work. She's got a way of being direct with me and funny and lighthearted, and it also comes from this place of like, hey, I just want this work to be the best it possibly can be. This is what I know. Can I help you? And I've learned through our time together to just listen, because she is not going to lead me astray. She's always looking at it from a perspective of, hey, here's a way we can do it, or this is what I know, or you did really great on that, do more of this. And that specific help allows me to lean into the spaces that I do well and then refine, find some other skills or take a different approach, or even lean into a topic that maybe I didn't see, because I can't do it all by myself. And I was really lucky to start my career out that way as well, in a very collaborative space. My first corporate job I'd say my real first big girl job, the one where you get to wear high heels, it had a different essence to it. It had a different kind of professionalism. And I spoke about this particular workplace in the last episode. The team I worked on was a group of women. We were all around the same age, and we were all about making the work the best it could be. So I started off my career where we would support each other and we would try to make everything the very best it could be. We would edit each other's work. We would proofread. We'd give feedback when we were doing presentations or facilitations. And that meant a lot of the time recognizing where our gaps were and having people who had that skill set and could fill those gaps support us. So we know this girl has trouble spelling. We know this girl needs to read things or take in information in a very certain way. And almost instinctively, that team would fill in the gaps for each other. It was almost an unspoken thing where when we got a new machine or we had a new process, we'd all come together and we'd talk about it. We'd read the directions together. We would play with the machines together. We would write down what are the steps. They would have me write it down because I'm really great at notes. We naturally leaned on each other's skill sets and did not make each other feel bad for not having the same skill set. It was how do we fill in the gaps? And hey, let me teach you how to do this so that next time you feel more confident. We build things together. And to this day, I'm still in touch with that original team because we cared so deeply about the work and we cared about each other and we cared about really leaning into the skill sets that each one of us brought. And it wasn't about making anybody feel bad for anything that they just naturally were. So if they were authentically a little quieter or authentically a little louder or authentically more social, we leaned into that and we thought, how do we support that person to accomplish the vision and the goals of this team by helping them feel really good about themselves? I loved that. It was the best. So that's, to me, what makes a good colleague. Is really knowing how to leverage each other's strengths and that radical honesty that provides reflection and feedback in ways that help you be your best self, not as a way to criticize. I know a lot of people don't intend to criticize when they give feedback or the way that they coach or the way that leadership comes across. However, there is a way to do it that really brings a team together. And the smaller the team, the more opportunity you have to really understand and leverage the strengths of your team, not what you think your team is. The next piece that makes a really good colleague, in my opinion, is someone who I can ideate and dream with. Now, I have a colleague who I will definitely have on the pod at some point who, oh my gosh, she was brilliant and continues to be brilliant of translating my brain. She will dream with me and then she's like, oh, I know how to make this happen. And I'm not always great at the keeping going part. I can get it going. And she can like take that vision and make a roadmap and like keep it going forever. But I love the conversations where we can ideate together, dream up something new. What's a new way of thinking about something? What is a different direction we can take this in that hasn't been done before? That co-creation of knowledge to me is like the pinnacle of human connection, of human interaction, is what do we build together? And it doesn't have to be physical. It can be a new way of seeing the world. And I do have a couple of colleagues that I just love ideating with. We co-create like nothing else. So that one brings me to the next piece. And the next one is when you ideate with people, when you co-create knowledge, someone who knows what's yours, what's theirs, and what's ours. And I paused on purpose to let that land. Someone who can tell you and remind you often, no, that was your idea. Or, hey, we spoke about that together. That's our idea. Someone who remembers what you said and takes the time to care deeply about your vision and the way that you see the world and the ideas that came out of your conversations together. And it's like, yeah, maybe we had that chat together and we spurred the conversation, but like, Megan, that was yours. That came out of our conversation, but that was yours. You said it. And someone who can give you credit where credit's due and remember what you're about or what you're building and help you sharpen it. Yeah. That's yes. I would love to say that's something I like to do for other people, is reflect back their brilliance, their ideas, what they've said, what they've come up with. I think it's so important to have that reflection piece, that mirror of what you said reflected back to you by someone who is really listening. That is such a gift. Such a gift. And I think the other part about being a really good colleague is repair. Repair is not something we all know how to do. Repair is not something everyone grew up with. When there's a rupture in our family, in our friendships, at work, how is it repaired? How is it addressed? How is it spoken about? A lot of times we carry that baggage, or it's not resolved, or you just had to shove it down, or your boss said it, so I can't do anything about it, or it's in the family and we just don't talk about it, or it's a friendship and the friendship just drifted apart because we never repaired it. I would say that it is a skill that when you have a colleague who is willing to repair, who reaches out to repair, and just names it, my goodness, that is a gift beyond gifts. I have one person who comes to mind, and she repaired a workplace friendship that I did not even think would have been possible. I'll have her on the podcast as well. I want to talk about it because that gift was something that keeps giving and gives me the courage to, even if imperfectly, reach out for repair. It circles back to that first piece. Sometimes when we're giving feedback or telling people about a gap or something that didn't land, we have to be able to be receptive to it and be open to repair. Hey, I'm really sorry that I said that. And how do we move forward? This is what I'm going to do differently. How can I move forward from it? I think maybe I'll do a whole episode on repair, especially in the workplace, because I think it looks different in the workplace. The last piece, I guess this is number 5, that makes a really great colleague a colleague is they understand they're working with other humans. As I was making this list, as I was reflecting on the conversations, I thought, do I know anyone who has all of these perfectly? Nope. Not a chance. I don't even have all of them perfectly. I have a list. I do my best. I'm human. My best looks different every day. And what I know about human behavior, you're probably the same too. So the best colleagues remember you're human. And they have the grace and space to know that you have good intentions. And they care about you. They care about you. And they remind us that we're human too, especially when we're being too hard on ourselves and looking for that edge of perfection. Not that we can't have excellent or high standards, but that edge of perfection can hold us back from being our best selves. I have colleagues who do a lot of these really well. I have colleagues who do some of these really exceptionally well. I have colleagues who do these things exceptionally well most of the time, and then sometimes they don't, because we all have barriers. We all have a different capacity for each one of these in different situations, and there are places where we shine and places where we're growing. And that's part of the journey. It's part of the humanity. Kolbi mentioned this when we were talking about this episode. I love what she said. She said that notice that nobody answered that question with they're the person who gets the report in on time or has 0 spelling mistakes. And I'm going to lean into Lindsay's conversation. It's the people who have the skills of people, of caring. Really, it's caring. And Lindsay put it so clearly where she spoke about her team that would just help pave the pathway forward for her. They saw she was busy and they're like, oh, I noticed this didn't happen. So I got it done. Here you are. Just take a look at it. Make sure you like it. Because they know enough about how she works and they care enough about her time. It's the people who see what needs to happen and help you out in meaningful ways. They care enough about you. And you know what? The work is secondary in those cases. And I know we all need a vision and we need a goal, and the point of work is to do good work together. But we do the best work together. And I say but totally on purpose. We do the best work together when we care about the people that we're working with. End of story. As I always say, the right hard work feels really good, really great. We love doing good, great work. People don't show up at work to do a crappy job. They really don't. We show up to work to do a good, great, excellent job. People want to thrive at what they do in life. So keeping that in mind, when we care about the people and we put the people first, the outcome is great work. The outcome is excellence and performance. Because when we bring out the best in people, we do our best. And still, coming back to the point that when you just care, amazing things happen. So there you have it, friends. From our guests, we had authenticity and rooting for other people in a really meaningful way, lifting each other up. My list included the radical honesty and the ability to really lean into each other's skills and strengths. Ideating together, co-creating, and remembering what's yours, what's mine, what's ours, what did we create together, and holding people to their brilliance on a regular basis, really reminding them of what they said, how they said it, and who they are. We all need that in life, a good reminder of what we're good at, what we're about, where we want to go. We need that support. Repair. How to repair when things rupture. Because the last one is we're human. The best colleagues remind us that we're human, and they are human, which goes back to the authenticity piece, and it goes round and round. Oh my goodness, I love it. So friends, I want to know from you, what makes you a good colleague? And what makes a good colleague for life? Let me know. And until next time, stay collegial.